I hope you enjoyed my previous video on Coulomb Earth Pressure Theory. If you haven't seen it already, I encourage you to watch it. I might have gotten a little carried away with the math, but I'm sure the engineers out there loved it. In this video, I want to look closely at one specific aspect of that theory, the back of the wall. And we'll see what we can learn with my favorite visualization tool, Wall in a Box. If you remember, there were a series of assumptions we made when starting to determine Coulomb earth pressure on a retaining wall. One of those assumptions was that the back of the wall is constant and at an angle theta from horizontal. Another is that there is friction between the retained soil and the back of the wall. According to Coulomb theory, a wedge of soil will form behind the wall starting at the bottom corner of the wall that wants to push the wall out of place. While these assumptions might be correct for a simple mass concrete gravity wall, what do we do if we have a different type of wall? Maybe we have a wall that doesn't have a clearly defined straight back of wall. Or we might have a wall where soil wedges could form in the retained soil that act as part of the wall to help resist sliding and overturning. At the risk of making a bad pun, I think as geotechnical engineers, we need to dig a little deeper. Before we get into any details, I do want to start with a couple disclaimers. This video shows some concepts and discusses a few options of how to calculate earth pressure on different types of walls. It's not intended to be an exhaustive analysis of the topic, nor are the approaches presented in this video applicable to every situation, or even the only way to calculate earth pressure on retaining walls. Earth pressure is fabulously complicated, and there are entire college courses, several of them advanced graduate level courses devoted to its study. This video is simply an introduction to some of the concepts. It's my sincere hope that it will inspire folks to study earth pressure theory further. Using Wall in a Box, we can look at different types of walls and see what happens with different back of wall conditions. First, let's start with a wall that conforms to the assumptions we made in the classic Coulomb analysis. Here, we've modeled a mass gravity wall with a straight, smooth back of wall. As with all these experiments, we built a scale model of the wall that is intended to fail. So you can see when we remove the supports that a wedge of soil forms behind the wall and the wall moves to the left. If we replay the clip again, you can see the soil settling or moving down the back of the wall, producing the friction that we assumed in the Coulomb theory. As things continue to move, we see the soil collapsing behind the wall. All this is exactly what we expected to happen based on Coulomb earth pressure theory. Now, let's look at a wall that doesn't conform to the Coulomb assumptions. We will look at a cantilever wall that has a heel extending behind the wall face and a vertical stem. There are some questions we might ask, like what do we use for the back of the wall? Where would the failure wedge of soil form? How does the heel impact the performance of the wall? And what influence, if any, does the soil above the heel have on the wall? Depending on what engineering text you are looking at, you might see this type of wall depicted as a vertical back drawn through the soil starting at the back of the heel. Others show the wall defined by a sloped line aligning with the Rankine active failure plane that starts at the back of the heel. Using Wall in a Box, we can model a simple cantilever wall. Again, we designed it to fail, so when the supports are moved out of the way, you can see a failure wedge that forms at the back bottom corner of the heel of the wall. Now, if we replay the clip again, you can see a second failure plane that forms above the heel to define the wedge of soil that is acting on the wall, pushing the wall out of the way, and separate from a wedge of soil which acts like part of the wall, providing weight to help resist sliding or overturning. If you look closely, you'll see that both failure planes appear to have approximately the same angle. They're just mirrored from each other. The last wall we'll look at with Wall in a Box is another precast modular block wall with 3 different width units. What do we do especially with the areas where the back of the wall steps from a wider unit to a narrower unit? One approach engineers use to calculate active earth pressure on the back of this type of wall is to draw a line that averages out the back of the wall and use this approximate back of wall line with the standard Coulomb equations. Another approach, similar to the one often used for walls supporting layered soils, is to evaluate the different back of wall conditions and create a composite pressure diagram to determine the force on the wall. While not definitive, we can use Wall in a Box and get an idea of how the wall might perform. Again, as we move the supports out of the way, the first thing we notice is the failure wedge which forms from the bottom back corner of the bottom wall unit. When we replay the clip, we start to notice small failure planes that form where the back of the wall steps from a wider to narrower units. These small failure planes define small wedges of soil that act as part of the wall to help resist sliding and overturning. The behavior that we see using wall-in-the-box is similar to what we assume with the different back-of-wall zones in the composite pressure diagram approach. As Solomon would say, let's hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Retaining wall behavior can be nuanced and complicated. There are many different types of walls, and there are multiple theories of how to analyze them. The good news is that engineers have been studying earth pressure and retaining walls for a long time. With good education and experience, professional engineers responsible for retaining wall design can help you properly design a wall that will last a lifetime. If you're interested in learning more about earth pressure theory or precast modular block walls, I invite you to download a copy of the Precast Modular Block Design Manual. And if you have questions about retaining walls for your next project, you can contact our civil engineering team. We're always happy to help folks understand how our PMB wall systems can help meet your project-specific needs. After all, we want you to design with confidence.